All right, guys, so John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta just addressed the media, and we have so many updates to go over.
We had higher aspirations, and we didn't achieve those aspirations and goals. But I think it was a successful season. I'm very proud of the team, the players, the coaches, support staff, everybody. And I've already moved on. I've started watching tape. I'm in now one of my most favorite seasons, which is the off season, which is not it's a misnomer because it's my busiest time of the year. But I love being a part of the solution, and that's what we'll be.
Updates on Zay Flowers, Kyle Hamilton and his future, Tyler Linderbaum. We got updates on Derrick Henry, a possible contract extension, the corners, the O-line, man. We got all that and more. We're going to break down all of these updates, man. Let's go ahead and dive into the content. The first thing I want to talk about is Eric DeCosta says this was a successful season, but they're disappointed. He says, I've already moved on. This is the type of general manager the Ravens have. Listen.
It was a successful season. I'm not going to sit up here and say it was not a successful season. It was in just about every way of looking at it. But I'm disappointed, and John's disappointed. We're all disappointed. Our team's disappointed. And I've already moved on. I've started watching tape. I'm immersed in college and pro scouting right now and talking about contracts and negotiations and different things. And that's one, I think for me, that's one of the blessings of my job is it's very seasonal. And I'm in now one of my most favorite seasons, which is the off season, which is not, it's a misnomer because it's my busiest time of the year. But I love being a part of the solution, and that's what we'll be.
He said, I've moved on to contracts, negotiations, pro scouting. So he's already looking at free agents the Ravens can bring in March, which is right around the corner, by the way. I can't wait for free agency and the draft. It's some of my favorite times of the year. Make sure you guys subscribe and notification bell on so you don't miss any of it. But he's already moving on to pro scouting for free agency, college scouting for the draft. And he says, I love being part of the solution. And I'm telling you right now, as long as Lamar Jackson is wearing purple, the Ravens Super Bowl window is wide open. This guy is too talented, too special. Look at some of these throws he was making in this divisional game. Look at his first performance against the Steelers. He was composed. He was locked in. He is so hungry to go get this Super Bowl championship. I'm telling you, man, the window is not closing as long as Lamar Jackson is on this team. Colin Cowherd just talked about that, about how some of these greats, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Matt Stafford even, took them a while, took them into the 30s, but eventually they broke through. Aaron Rodgers, look, these guys, too talented to not eventually break through and get a Super Bowl. I feel the same way about Lamar Jackson. We'll talk about that in the next video, but Eric DeCosta says, hey, just because we fell short doesn't mean, look at what we accomplished. Look how good we were on offense, on defense. Yeah, we fell short, but I'm ready to be part of the solution. I love that mentality. And I'm just telling you right now, that's why the Baltimore Ravens are in this thing every year. That's why the Baltimore Ravens are in the playoffs. John Harbaugh talked about that today as well, saying, hey, we were mentally locked in. We did the procedures in practice. Everything was there. If you look, man, the Ravens were moving the ball up and down on the field on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills could not stop the Ravens. Only the Ravens could stop the Ravens with 3 turnovers. And they're just turnovers that Lamar Jackson didn't make all year. He hadn't turned the ball over twice in a game the entire season, and then it happened in the playoffs. It's just part of being in the playoffs, part of playing the football game. But I'm not wavering on our guys to go get the job done. I still think the Ravens have everything they need. Eventually, they're going to break through. Eric DeCosta said, there's no player I'd rather have on my team than Lamar Jackson. I think he's the best quarterback in the league. Now, also, we know there's a lot of speculation on Mark Andrews. What will his future be like? And John Harbaugh said, he's a part of our future. And then Eric DeCosta said, I'm glad he's under contract, but all 3 of our tight ends right now will be free agents after next season.
Yeah, I agree with John. And Mark and I have communicated. I'll leave those thoughts to myself. But as far as Mark's contract goes, he's no different than a lot of guys. In fact, I think all of our tight ends are in the last year of their contract coming up in 2025. So, we'll have some decisions to make moving forward. Not as many, I think, tough decisions this year, looking at it, which I'm thankful for. But obviously, as we look out, we'll have some tough decisions after next season. So a year from now, we'll have some tough choices and decisions to make regarding players. But, so that room right now, all 3 of those guys are in the last year of their deals. Ironically, Charlie and Isaiah and Mark. We're blessed to have, in my opinion, the best tight ends room in the league, and we'll be blessed this year on the field as well.
So this upcoming season, the 2025 season, they're all under contract. But in the 2026 season, the year after, they'll all be free agents. The Ravens will have big decisions to make because you cannot let Isaiah Likely walk. No shade on Mark Andrews, but look how clutch Isaiah Likely is. Look at the plays that he made in Week 1 in Kansas City. He's got that clutch, that ice cold in his veins. Look at some of the playoff games last year against the Texans, the touchdown grab. The touchdown grab this year against the Buffalo Bills to possibly tie the game before Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion. Again, no shade on Mark, but I'm telling you, man, Isaiah Likely is a playmaker, ice in his veins type playmaker, and I'm telling you that if he would be the tight end 1, we're talking about the future here. Mark will be here next year, I believe that. But if Isaiah Likely as a tight end 1 were to get more targets, I mean, he's the type of guy that can have 1,000 yards and be an all-pro type of tight end with how talented he is. I'm dead serious. And I know you guys probably see that as well, how talented Likely is. But something to keep your eye out on. They'll all be free agents next year. It'll probably be, and I'm just telling you, I think the Ravens are going to invest in Isaiah Likely. It doesn't mean that Mark can't have a contract to stick around, but I think the priority will be Likely next year. We also got an update on the defensive staff, all right? So we got updates on a ton of players and coaches and stuff like that, but one of the updates that stuck out to me is the defensive coaching staff. Dean Pease, who was brought in mid-season, helped the Ravens defense completely turn around. We saw Week 11 to Week 18. They were the best defense in the NFL in multiple categories. Before that, not good. They were bottom half of the league in most categories besides run defense. So Dean Pease was a big part of helping the rookie defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, turn stuff around, schematically get grounded, some advice. I do think Zach Orr is much more prepared now having a full season under his belt, seeing that turnaround. I think having Zach Orr come into as the DC next year, he'll be more prepared, locked in, ready to go, and have himself a top 5 defensive unit from the rip. I mean, from the jump, right beginning of the season, I think they're going to come out swinging on defense, and I really do believe that. A lot of talent coming back on defense, including Marlon Humphrey, who's under contract, Kyle Hamilton, Justin Madubuike, Roquan Smith, Darius Washington's an RFA, so he's still under the Ravens' control. So a lot of guys coming back on this Ravens defense, including Kyle Van Noy, who's a leader. Odafe Owe got another year under the contract. But going back to Dean Pease, the Ravens plan on keeping him around as a consultant, but John Harbaugh says he won't be as full-time involved as he was during the second half of the season where he was in there full-time, but he'll still be on John Harbaugh's staff as a consultant. Speaking of coaching staff, there's still a couple of head coaching vacancies right now, the Raiders and the Jaguars. And the Jaguars held an interview for offensive coordinator Todd Monken to possibly fill their head coaching vacancy. And I want to run this back with Monken, man. I want year 3 of Monken with year 2 of Derrick Henry in the offense. And hopefully a healthy Zay Flowers in the playoffs. Bateman coming back. We'll talk about Bateman here in a second, but man, I want year number 3 with Todd Monken. Todd Monken has orchestrated one of the best offenses historically, not just in the NFL, but all time. If you look at the numbers, what Todd Monken was able to do and accomplish with Lamar in the second year. Imagine a third year, the comfortability, the wrinkles. I think it could be really, really dangerous. So obviously we're hoping to keep Todd Monken around, but John Harbaugh said he would be an excellent head coach somewhere, but he's obviously hoping that his guy Monken sticks around. Another guy Harbs and EDC talked about was Nate Wiggins. EDC said Nate Wiggins had a good season, but whether or not he has a great season next year is up to him and up to his development. He said that he's capable. He has no ceiling, the type of player that he is, the special stuff, the movement skills that other people just don't simply have. Nate Wiggins has that, but he said the priority for Nate Wiggins is going to be adding some weight in the offseason and just keep developing. But they're excited for Nate Wiggins. I think Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins, both under contract for next year, is huge. Obviously, Brandon Stevens will be a free agent, as well as Tre'Davious White. So the Ravens will have some some holes to fill in their corner room. TJ Tampa was a rookie, banged up most of the year, so he's in the mix there. But I think a free agent corner and or a corner in the draft is going to be a big priority because who's going to start? Who's going to start opposite of Nate Wiggins if Marlon Humphrey's back in the slot? One option is bringing Kyle Hamilton back in the slot, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins playing outside, but then you would need another free safety type of player. So Ravens will have a little bit of work to do in the secondary, but still in very good shape there. Speaking of Brandon Stephens, Eric DeCosta said that he's going to have a chance to test the market, which kind of tells you right out, like, hey, we're going to let Brandon Stephens test the free agent market and, let him kind of walk. They're going to let him go and see. It's kind of like the same comment he made about Patrick Queen last year, if you guys can remember. It's kind of, showing you the hand there. I'm not saying it's impossible for Brandon Stephens to come back, but I don't think the Ravens are going to cough up big-time money for him. Maybe he'll see what his value is, and then the Ravens can make something work there. But we'll see. We saw a great season from Stephens in 2023, like a top 10 type of corner performance. But then in 2024, not a great season. He was not. He gave up a lot of yards, over 700 yards in pass defense. So, which Brandon Stephens are you going to get? That's probably going to, ultimately hinder his value in free agency, but we'll see. Eric DeCosta said it would be nice to get another safety back there so Kyle Hamilton can kind of be the jackknife, but Eric DeCosta was pleased with the move from Kyle Hamilton to free safety because he said, hey, I'd rather have less splash plays from Kyle Hamilton at the free safety role, but better overall defense with him there than to have him in the nickel make a bunch of splash plays, but then the defense to give up a bunch of splash plays, if that makes sense. Kyle Hamilton at free safety brought so much stability, which was more valued, overall good, stable defense than, having those splash plays where he's around the line of scrimmage. So they even said, hey, if a safety is a top-rated player in the first round, we will pull the trigger. So could see some more talent coming in the draft in the secondary. They also said they'd like to get Patrick Ricard, the fullback, back here in Baltimore. Patrick Ricard said yesterday, he actually said that he'd love to retire as a Raven. And he also said, hey, as long as Lamar's here, the Super Bowl window's open, which we were talking about earlier. An update on Zay Flowers and the receiver room. So Zay Flowers, John Harbaugh was asked about his health and if he would have been able to play in the AFC Championship. And he said, yeah, I do think he had a real chance to play this week in the AFC Championship if we would have advanced. But he said, I didn't think that he was going to play against the Bills, but doubtful was the right designation. He said that he doesn't think it's going to need surgery, but they'll have to make some more analysis and decisions on that. So obviously, if Zay Flowers were to get a surgery, it doesn't seem as if it would be a full year type of recovery, like a crazy ACL/MCL reconstruction or anything. It seems like it would be a more minor procedure, but something to keep your eye on for the offseason. Now, the other receiver that stepped up big time is Rashad Bateman. Eric DeCosta was so happy when he was asked about Rashad Bateman because whenever Zay Flowers went down, he had 2 touchdowns in 2 playoff games. He scored against Pittsburgh, and then he scored against the Buffalo Bills and made several splash plays against those Bills, made big-time clutch catches. So the 2 targets that really stepped up the most in the absence of Zay Flowers was Rashad Bateman, who's under contract for the next few years, and Isaiah Likely, who's only 25 years old and will be a free agent next year, who I think they have to lock up. So Likely, Bateman, Flowers on the rookie deal. The Ravens are in good hands as far as their pass catchers and some of their weapons moving forward. Big update on Derrick Henry. They signed him last year with a 2-year deal, with most of the money happening, hitting the cap in the second year. So if the Ravens don't want to absorb that big of a cap hit, they can A, extend him, B, release him, which I don't think they're going to do. Obviously, I think Derrick Henry wants to run it back, and Eric DeCosta said, hey, he's still got a lot of gas left in the tank. You see there's some good football, some meat left on the bone, and I feel the same way. I think Derrick Henry has another good year or 2 maybe more in him, because what he was showing, the explosiveness and everything, and how hard he works in the offseason and the training and the body maintenance, I think Derrick Henry is going to want to come back and run it back next year and try to get to the Super Bowl, because he's hungry for one. There's not many teams in the NFL that you feel honestly have a better chance of getting to the Super Bowl than the Ravens, besides the Chiefs, who are trying to go three-peat. Another big factor for next season, I want you guys to think about this. Eric DeCosta said they want to get off to a faster start. And I think, look at all the new coaching staff. They basically revamped their coaching staff last year on defense when they lost Mike Macdonald. So they got off to a slow start. We know that, right? The defense was bad. They lost a lot of games early in the season that they should not have. Started 0-2, okay? If the Ravens would have won a few more of those games, like maybe against the Raiders, if Isaiah Likely would have gotten his foot down against the Chiefs, think of that awful Browns loss. Think about the first Steelers loss that we had. The Ravens could have very well been the 1 seed in the AFC. If the Ravens can run it back, get off to a hot start, and get that 1 seed again, I think you only got to win 2 games to go to the Super Bowl. That obviously increases your chances. You get rest and everything, which I also think is huge for a guy like Derrick Henry to be rested heading into a divisional game. But man, look out for these Ravens to get off to a hotter start next season. We're going to have free agency right around the corner. We're going to have the draft upcoming. Then we have OTAs, training camp, right back into the season. I know it seems like it's far away, but man, the offseason always goes by so fast. And I love the off-season team building process. And I know a lot of you guys just do as well. So make sure you have your subscribe and notification bell on so you don't miss anything. Smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.